myself or suffer the consequences. The wisdom of Elijah's inside of the conscientious, so I move.
Grace and peace, Black family. This is Vicky Dillard, your sister with the curly braids. And I want you to get ready for the new Master Elements project, The Spear and the Shield.
This vaccine isn't experimental. It's like a dandelion. You overlook it for they weird science.
DJ RP Beats and Sincere Love the God have taken this time during the pandemic to carefully craft the soundtrack to Black empowerment with hot tracks like God Mine, featuring Sadat X of the legendary group Brand Nubians.
We never die. I made an ancestral shrine. Let's see what's in the God's mind. Listen, I'm a law in the person of sincere of the God. That mean your arms too short like Tar Anthony Shaw.
God painted me black.
God painted me black. Thanks for that. I'm a mention man.
A letter to Dr. Francis Cress Welsing.
I say to the ancestors, dear Dr. Francis Cress Wilson, I just wanted to thank you for all the lessons you left us. So yes, I'm more than grateful.
And the controversial song Buck Breaking God today.
Why every black show they gotta have a transgender? Either I'm crazy or this gotta be a planned agenda.
Get ready, Black family. This is a much needed project. This is The Spear and the Shield.
Celebrate the foundational Black American culture of freedom, fighting, and resistance with the first annual Arethusa 5K run. This cultural experience will honor our FBA ancestors and icons while harnessing energy from our past to power our future. There will be security at this event to ensure everyone has a safe and enjoyable experience. Arethusa Run is a cultural event for family and friends. Strollers and wheelchairs are welcome. The in-person event will include a free 1-mile fun walk and will be held on December 17th in Tampa, Florida. Unable to make the live event, you can also participate virtually anywhere from December 17th to December 30th. All registered participants will receive the official Arethusa Run finisher medal, t-shirt, and more with the ability to upload their race time to the official site. Live event participants will receive the time race scores, professional finisher photo, video, and your name will be announced as you're welcomed across the finish line. Enjoy the post-race after party and refuel with a traditional FBA breakfast. You can also help us settle fun family debates like sugar or salt and grits. Prepare with family workouts and runs and post on social media using the hashtag ArethusaRun. For registered info and sponsorship opportunities, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Click the link in the bio. Hope to see you all there.
The Civil War led to the emancipation of nearly 4 million African Americans. As freed people with very few economic resources, they needed to find a way to save their earnings and acquire wealth as new workers in a wage economy. The federal government chartered the Freedmen's Bank in 1865, the very year that the North won the Civil War.
The Freedmen's Bank was a great idea in theory. Newly emancipated African Americans could receive loans to purchase land, could receive advice on how to manage their money.
By 1871, 37 branches had opened in 17 states. The bank hired local Black leaders as cashiers and solicited depositors among the formerly enslaved.
The one flaw, though, is that Black folk had no money. This is after the Civil War. There are no reparations. So I've always wondered, you created a bank, well, what do you expect Black folk to deposit? Goodwill?
Some people invested only a few pennies, but still, they invested. While the majority of accounts were less than $50, the bank ultimately counted nearly $60 million in total deposits from almost 70,000 depositors. But in 1873, a Great Depression rocked the nation.
The Depression of 1873 creates a panic, a run on banks, and banks start failing. The abolitionist Frederick Douglass is brought in essentially to keep those Black folk who had made it from pulling out their money, but that wasn't enough to really shore up the bank itself. And within a year or two after that, it collapses.
As a result, half the depositors received payouts that on average were only 3/4 of the value of their accounts. The other half received nothing at all.
The Freedmen's Bank's collapse not only means that Black people will not have any of those resources to invest in their future, it also helps to create or animate a distrust in government institutions. So people begin to feel betrayed by the union, by the government, in ways that are going to have lasting effects for generations.
Yes, indeed, family. I'm here. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Sincere Love the Godcast. This is a special edition of the Black Business Showcase. I am the God, Sincere Love, and I have another great guest coming on for y'all tonight to chop up some good game, but especially for those of y'all who got caught up in that PPP situation. I know y'all gonna have questions. I know y'all got people, family members, loved ones, you know what I'm saying, that may be in a situation. You heard about Biden putting together this task force to start these investigations about some of the PPP loans that may or may not have been fraudulent or whatever the case may be. And so I wanted to bring on a finance professional to give some advice and some game to the family about what you can do to kind of make sure you got your affairs in order and prepare for what may be coming down the pipe as far as these investigations are concerned. So welcome. Again, like I said, welcome. This is another episode of Sincere Love the Godcast, special edition of the Black Business Showcase. So I appreciate y'all being here. Let's start this thing off right. Smash that like button. Share this out on your social media platforms. Let everybody know that we are live. And make sure you are subscribed to the YouTube channel if you're watching me from Facebook or from Twitter. Head on over to the YouTube channel, type in Sincere Love the God, hit the subscribe button and click the notification bell so you can be reminded whenever we go live with new episodes. We usually do the Black Business Showcase on Wednesdays and Thursdays, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific Time. And on Sundays, we have our regular broadcast where we talk politics, current events, and other important issues that are pertaining to what's going on in Black society. So make sure y'all stay tapped in with me and my sister nyctegur for all of that. But like I said, tonight is a little bit different, but it's still the same though. We're gonna make it do what it do. So before we get started, let me give a shout out to my girl Crown 808, man. Crown 808, you know, she's the one that plugged me in with our brother, our guest for the evening in the first place. Real good sister, man. And I gotta plug her little side hustle. Not no little side hustle. Let me not even put the little on there. I gotta plug her side hustle that she got popping off. She's a virtual assistant. She helps us out a lot here on the Godcast. I know she helps my brother Cavanaugh out with his business over at Nweze Solutions, Financial Solutions, and all of that, and other businesses that she working with behind the scenes that y'all don't even know that she the quarterback. You know what I'm saying? So I want y'all to check out my sister Crown 808. Follow her on Instagram at Crown 808, and she's an HR generalist. She does email, calendar, events, travel, research projects, project management, proposals and contracts, board of directors liaison, and she's a strategic thought partner also. And so she can be contacted at 205-509-7083. If somebody could type that in the chat for me so I could put it on the screen also. I don't know if my mods pulled up yet to the chat, but whoever's in the chat, if you could type that phone number, 205-509-7083, and info@crowned808.com is the email, info@crowned808.com, and the IG and Facebook is Crowned808. So again, phone number 205-509-7083. Email is info@crowned808.com, and the IG and Facebook is Crown808 as well. And so we're gonna put together a nice fly little commercial for my sister, so we could just plug it and run it on the show on a regular basis. But definitely tap in with her, man. She's real good at what she does. And I knew she was gonna be pulling up. Here she go right here in the chat. What's going on, Crown? All right. And so, like I said, man, got a great guest for y'all today. So let me not waste no more of his time. Let's get him on and let's get this thing popping. So we got our brother Cavanaugh Nweze from Nweze Solutions. He's a tax accountant, all things finance, as far as your business, personal, all of that stuff. This is your guy that you want to go to. So let's not waste any more time and bring him to the stage. Brother Cavanaugh, welcome to the Godcast, brother.
Oh man, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, sir.
Pleasure to be
Yes.
here.
We need you, man.
Oh man, we need each other. You know,
He's trying some trying times right now.
yeah, it's a little bit interesting with these new things that's going on in the legislation, but
Mm-hmm.
it's very similar right around to the what happened in COVID. When it initially hit, when it was at that time it was the CARES Act, and when the CARES Act came in, it's what made these monies available. So one thing that to be cognizant of is that it's a new process. Just like when the PPPs were being released, it was a process that people had to learn. Some people went through different processes, the PPP, the EIDL, all of that, and that process changed after it was released. It's going to be similar with the things that are coming through this Inflation Reduction Act.
Mm-hmm.
And the big thing that I can say is similar to all of them is just making sure that we're sound on the basics. So I always try to make sure, me personally, just how I live my life. I try not to be caught up in the news cycles. And try to be proactive, and being proactive and it was those same people who were proactive, who understood those basics, those fundamentals, who were able to leverage and get access to those PPPs, those EIDLs, because their stuff was already in order.
Mm-hmm.
Likewise, when we dealing with this, it's going to be the same principles. Like as long as you have your house in order, your financial house in order, if you will. In this instance, we're talking about tax filing. As long as everything is in order, you're in good place. So if anything, this evening, I was like, I'll make sure I want to give some tips to get that in order. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Exactly why I wanted to have this sit down with you. You know what I mean?
Already.
Bring some clarity as far as that. I know there are, some people who not only, didn't have their affairs in order, but really didn't have no affairs to begin with. Just saw an opportunity. You know what I'm saying? There was some bags being dispersed, and there were a lot of financial gurus online, promoting the PPP loan, telling everybody, hey, it don't matter if you got a business or not. I can help you get this money. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people just went out there and just went for what they knew. You know what I'm saying? Especially during that time, the lockdowns and a lot of jobs being shut down, and people going through financial hardships. And so, out of desperation, some people just took a chance, and now they're a little bit worried. They're hearing the stuff out here. So hopefully we could calm some of that worry with this discussion tonight and bring some clarity about what's actually really going on. But before we even get into it, just give a little bit about who you are, what your background is, so people know who we're talking to.
Yeah, like on the screen, my name is Cavanaugh Nweze. I'm a tax preparer, bookkeeper, business consultant. We've been founded our firm for about 7 years now. This is 2022. So yeah, that was 2015. So 7 years. And we just been serving the people. And I've been a professional accountant, worked for big oil firms, audit firms, all of that. And I've also and during that time, I have received many questions to help people with their taxes, because people in the community found out that's what I did. And in that process, I've learned how much was needed, and how I kind of took it for granted because I did my own work. I did my own taxes. Because this was my area of expertise, and didn't realize how much actual help people in our community needed with that, because financial services in our community are usually either predatory or incompetent, you know.
Mm.
And I wanted to change that scenario and make something of value, available to our community, so we can do this the right way. And it was, it's kind of the a part of this whole financial literacy movement, and because I think a little while ago, like even when the video that you led with the bank, We didn't have as much knowledge. We just kind of use these things because we were told to, and we don't necessarily know how to make these particular services, institutions work for our benefit.
Right. Yeah, and I forgot to mention that too. Yeah, the video that y'all seen in the beginning, I wanted to start off with that. Y'all know I like to try to choose something that's relevant to the conversation that's going to be had on whatever episode. And so, yeah, Skip Gates, is not somebody that I necessarily consider to be one of the master teachers, but he does bring a lot of truth and good history to the table with a lot of his programs and stuff. And so I felt that was relevant to start off with.
Yeah, no, and I agree with you. I can say I don't look up to him that much because of some other things which I can't even remember right now. But he has been a curator or a promoter of some good information that
Absolutely
probably would not get the amount of exposure, because I don't even think, just listening, I don't think I've even heard of this particular bank. So I'm interested to do some more research myself.
Oh yeah, Freedman's Bank, man. Freedman's Bank. That's actually something that we're trying to put back together now. Freedman's Bureau to kind of help out with our reparations claim. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So yeah. So let me pull this up right here.
What you got?
Pull this up right here. This is one of the scary headlines in the news that got people a little bit worried right now. So the IRS is set to get billions for audit enforcement. Here's what it means for taxpayers. So I'm gonna read a little bit of the article,
okay,
and you can stop me at any point if you want to add on or break down what's being said or whatever the case may be, and then we'll just build from there.
Okay.
All right. So Washington, this is a CNN article, y'all. The Internal Revenue Service is finally about to get the additional funding its officials have long been waiting for. The Democrats' Inflation Reduction Act calls for delivering nearly $80 billion to the IRS over 10 years. After months of negotiations over the sweeping spending package, the Senate passed the bill earlier this month, sending the legislation to the House for a vote before it reaches President Joe Biden's desk. The funding will help support the work of the IRS, including but not limited to audits, and in turn is expected to bring in more federal tax revenue to help offset the cost of Democrats' plan to lower prescription drug costs and combat climate change. IRS Commissioner Charles Reddick, along with his predecessor, have asked Congress for additional funding. The agency's budget has shrunk by more than 15% over the last decade. As a result, staffing levels and audit rates have been declining for years. And so I should have actually had the parts highlighted that I wanted to put. Let me see. The agency struggles became even more apparent to taxpayers during the COVID-19 pandemic when it could not keep up with filings. The IRS is still playing catch up, having started the year with a backlog of 11 million unprocessed tax returns. But some Republicans are attacking the proposed increase in IRS funding, arguing that it would leave more middle-class Americans and small businesses with the headache of facing the tax audit. So that's just back and forth politics, red and blue politics right there.
And then, but I'll stop you right there, because one thing for sure is that like the IRS or the government is already behind in processing tax returns, right? And so with them being behind already, that's why they're asking for this extra support. And usually because we file tax returns daily, or regularly, a lot of that backlog is from paper returns. We've been in contact with the IRS. We've had clients deal with that backlog already. So that's why I say, coming back to those fundamentals of like making sure you file on time. They're trying to recoup a part of this money that they're going to try to recoup, is because if you don't have actual expenses and you have certain aspects of your business, the actual income itself, shouldn't be income. This PPP, EIDL, that is not income. That's not revenue to your business. So a lot of people think of it as which, and it has to be reported properly. That is untaxable. and it's it shouldn't be reported as revenue. However, the expenses to these particular items should be reported, and that's how they're going to get some of this money back. Because if they can deem that certain expenses are not ordinary and necessary, which is the rule for deductions to be ordinary and necessary for your for business purposes, then you have to have and that, then if not, then it's going to increase your profit, which in turn is what you're taxed on. So that's kind of the challenge of this, and that what the IRS has to do. And by filing on time, making sure that if you receive income documents, that's going to be another big thing this year, because they also are part of another new regulation, which I can't remember the name, is these merchant payment systems. That if you receive more than $600, you're going to receive a 1099 now, and so that's going to be another thing. So it's just like pretty much just kind of the tax game is a game of compliance. If you play by the rules, you're less likely to get hit, and so that's what's really going on. So these transactions that they're going to try to legitimize or quantify, or try to negate, is kind of messed up. But these things have already happened. So it's very little that can be done in regards to the transaction that can change it. The most that you can do is make sure that it's filed properly. And that's if you got a PPP and if you got an EIDL, you need to file a tax return for 2020 and 2021. That's the easiest way. If you said that you had a business enough to get those type of funds, you need to file your business tax return, and it needs to be the proper tax return per it should match what that is. That's their easiest way, to kind of look at folks that didn't receive their funds, and there is a part of those 2020, 2021 tax returns that ask, hey, did you receive PPP? How much did you receive? And that's another trigger. And it just started popping up in those tax returns, but you have to pay attention to that, because it has to be reported. And that's what they're kind of going after. If you know that they are combating this era of fraud, if you receive those funds, you got to file for both years. Even if you didn't have any revenue, it's best, and you just had expenses, it's best to have something on paper, because if you don't tell them, they're gonna make something up, and whatever they make up is not gonna be in your benefit.
Right. Because all they're going to see is, okay, this person got this amount of money. This person got 2 checks. This amount of money right here. They didn't file no taxes. And so we say that you owe us this much. You know what I'm saying? So basically what you're saying is all you have to do is be able to show that your expenses match up with the money that they gave you to run your business. As far as like rent, equipment, travel expenses, whatever it is, depending on the type of business that you have, those expenses need to just line up with the amount of money that you receive via the PPP loan, right?
For the most part. So if we talk about specifically about PPP, we got 2 things about PPP, right? It was people who had employees, number 1, that received PPP. So those folks who had employees, you got to make sure that your payroll taxes are taken care of, and that's your 941s, your 940s, your W-2s, things of that nature. Because if you had employees, that's all that PPP money should have been used for. So once again, it's not something that you can go back in the past and change.
So now, hold on. What you saying that though? So if I file and I say, okay, so I had this many employees, this is the payroll. Is the investigation going to go as deep as in looking at those employees' taxes and seeing if that lines up with what you say you paid them?
No, that would line up with your 940 reports. So, which is like as an employer, myself in paying our employees, I have to pay payroll tax as well, and I have to submit reports to say how much wages have I paid in a particular quarter, and how much payroll taxes did I withhold from my employees' paycheck, because I got to pass that on. So that's is what is going to let the IRS know if you did that in that period of time, because majority of people, you should also have this was a forgivable loan, so you wanted to get it forgiven. So which again, was a certain amount of paperwork that you had to send in to say, hey, this was my payroll. It was certain payroll reports that had to be submitted. So I would make the assumption if someone had the employees and they did their payroll taxes appropriately, then they should be good to go. But that's what it'll be matched against. It'll be matched against how much they sent out, how much they dispersed to you, your 940 and your 941 quarterly reports or annual employee reports. And then you also have, your tax returns, the W-2s that you send out to your employees. All of that information is, connected, you know?
That makes
So
sense.
that's one scenario. But then you have a lot of these business owners who got PPP loans, and that PPP was for you, personally as a self-employed business owner. So that one is a little bit different because, and that's what we talk about, this gray area, because as a self-employed, most of them Schedule C filer, and because that you couldn't get the PPP if there's amount of profit that you had, right? So that profit should have been your take-home pay. So a lot of you had to take your a portion of that PPP. Some people paid themselves with you cut your check to yourself personally from your business, which is just fine. So it's going to be clear like that money cannot be a part of expenses. Like for instance, myself, if I was a Schedule C filer, I got a PPP loan for $2,000. I cut myself up $1,000 check. Or even just the whole check, $2,000. It has to be reasonable that that I didn't use that 2,000, or I'm not reporting using that $2,000 disbursement as an expense to reduce other income. That's not an expense. So it's just these little small innuendos or small idiosyncrasies, if you will, to make sure that it's filed appropriately. So it just, and then like I said, it would go back to what I started with, is just making sure that you have a sound structured expense reporting system. So with most expenses coming through your business account, you should have something that backs it up. And that's when they audit. When people are audit, they're asking for third party support, and that's what people talk about, bringing that box of receipts, right? So
Mm-hmm.
first you'll have a receipt from the bank that you and your bank kind of create from that transaction. Excuse me, like a transaction on your bank statement, right? But
Right.
then you have, those receipts are important because let's say you go to Target, right? Target sell everything. If you went to Target for office supplies, I wouldn't know that unless I look at that Target receipt. Because I can see your bank statement and say you paid Target $200. I don't know if you bought $200 worth of groceries and deodorant, or if you bought actual $200 of ink and paper and pens and stuff to use in your office. So that's when that receipt becomes like, that's that third party support. It's like Cavanaugh is saying one thing, his bank is saying another, but this third party that has no relation to Cavanaugh other than selling him something, that has to support what he's saying. So that's usually that's the holy grail. That's why people are always talking about trying to save receipts. It's in the event of an audit, not to show to your tax preparer. um,
Gotcha.
and yeah, and that would support some of these transactions. And yeah, it just
What's the best way to go about that these days, rather than just having shoe boxes full of receipts or whatever? Is there any apps or something like that you would recommend for people?
Yeah, definitely. I will. All of our clients that we do bookkeeping for, we use QuickBooks, but it's a lot of um, softwares that are easy. We've had smaller clients that have used FreshBooks, um, Zero. That's Xero. Those are different platforms, that you can use to record expenses and income for your businesses. But then you can also this phone right here, most of those apps you can take a picture of, you can connect, and you can add those particular receipts to each transaction. If you might not want to use that, then you can also use Google Drive. Take a picture, set up some receipts in your email inboxes, and they do have softwares that solely receipt capture and expense recording, but it doesn't give you that whole accounting mechanism. But so me personally, we use QuickBooks, and pair it with the bank. So it's a lot of options. Even if you're trying to do it on a personal basis, some people use like Mint, True Bill, things of that nature. But the more professional accounting softwares is like QuickBooks, Sage, Zero, all of that good stuff, and all of them have apps, but they can be a little bit of overwhelming sometimes if you don't have an accounting background. But yeah, you can.
Yeah, I know what
What
you
that
mean.
that's what that is about. So even like what Crown 808 is saying, you can take a pic, put it in the Google Drive folder, and push it to the side, and put all of the expenses in a respective folder for that a respective month. We
That's
have a
kind of
spread.
what I do. Because
Yeah,
I
yeah.
get most of my receipts emailed to me to my Gmail, and I
hmm
just put them in a receipt folder. You
Yep,
know
you
what I
can
mean?
set up
That's
labels and stuff of
yeah.
that nature. Yep, you can definitely do that. But also, just even for your own benefit, you need to tally that up. So that can be like a Google sheet. You need to know what that actual amounts are, so you can have an idea before the end of the year what that is. And that can happen on a simple spreadsheet. We have a very easy spreadsheet that I'll gladly send over to
No,
you.
it ain't easy.
Uh,
It ain't easy. You
it
sent it
ain't
to
easy,
me
man. It's
already.
easy, bro. I think it's easy, but maybe it's me taking it for granted. It's
You
pretty
just smart.
straightforward.
You
You know
just
what I mean?
smart. This is what you do. You know what
I
I'm
I, I,
saying?
I appreciate it. Well, I made it as simple as I
And
possibly
to
could.
me, it looked like a Chinese chessboard or something. I was like, okay, what is this? I sent it
I
right
got you,
back to
and
y'all.
I'll say the same thing about the soundboard, and you know what I mean. I'm like, bro, I just need one button. I just want to turn the volume up. You know what I mean? And I'm like, why y'all
Exactly.
got so many controllers, bro? It's only so high that I can hear it. But you know what I mean?
Exactly. Exactly.
You got it. So um,
Let me go back
but yeah,
here
so
for a
that's kind of
second.
how that go.
Let me go back here for a second.
Mhm.
All right. So, how many new auditors could be hired? Republican National Committee and several Republican lawmakers have criticized the new IRS funding, claiming that it will provide the agency with an army of 87,000 new IRS agents. But that number is misleading. So, of course, let me just say this. Of course, this is CNN. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So they're playing politics at the same time they're supposed to be delivering the news. So, they're basically debunking what the Republicans are saying. That's their slant on the story. So, you take that with a grain of salt. Da, 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 da. That number is misleading. The Treasury Department did estimate in 2021 that a nearly $80 billion investment in the IRS could allow the agency to hire 86,852 full-time employees over the course of a decade. But that figure accounts for all workers, not solely enforcement agents. Still, hiring more than 86,000 workers over 10 years could be a huge increase for the IRS, which currently has nearly 80,000 employees, but the number of IRS staff has declined over the past decade, currently standing at 1970s levels, and the agency is expected to keep losing people. Blase, blase, blah.
But look, so I would say I jump into that. So look, but they talking about yes, that is a lot of people that they talking about hiring, but they talking about hiring those folks. They talking about doubling their staff over the course of 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I mean. And even just thinking about that, that means this is not just a 2020, 2021 a pandemic thing. You know what I
Right.
mean? Even if this is true, this is an ongoing process to where we're basically, as small business owners, we just have to make sure that we are filing appropriately, and understanding what our business structure is, understanding when our business deadlines are, because just because the only tax deadline that's April 15th is the personal tax deadline. Depending on the type of entity that you have, you might have a different tax deadline. Some business owners may not know that you can choose a tax deadline. You can say, hey, I want to end my year in April rather than ending my year in December, and that is a very real thing that can happen. But it still comes down to the very nitty gritty. The easiest way is just keeping track of everything. And in this digital world, another easy way is just, and I'm that type because I like cash, but the easiest way to keep track of everything is to run it electronically, run it through the account, run it through one bank account. So at the end of the year, you can pull one set of bank statements rather than trying to pull your Cashapp, your PayPal, your Venmo, and your personal bank account. As a tax preparer, it's a headache. And the more different vehicles you use, the more margin that you create for error, where things can be missed. But yeah, so that's the thing, is making sure everything is supported and can be backed up. And if not, then you need to be looking in the back and into the past now to see which of these transactions that you can back up. And like I said, the easiest ones that you can do are the ones that are electronic, because we have these statements that we can just pull. Most of these statements go back 2-3 years, and usually if you want to go back further, you just reach out to your institution. So, but that's one thing, is like, this is not just next year thing. You know what I mean? They talking about doubling the size of their staff over the next 10 years.
They're playing the long game.
You know what I mean? And then at the same time, you also have to remember or know that the IRS statute of limitations for ending tax balance is 10 years. So let's say
I think they were talking about extending that too.
That's a possibility.
Yeah.
But even if that's a game, that's the point. Then that's we're talking about a long game. So while we're sitting here in 2022, we got to make sure the way we're recording these things are tight, because when we come, that means they got at least until 2030 to come and question the transactions that we're going to be reporting next year. So it's like it's not a fad thing. It's like a lifestyle thing. And sometimes it can be tedious, but I guarantee you, if you not just look at this data as, hey, I need to send this in to the IRS, but look at this data of like, hey, this is giving me more information about my business. This is letting me know where because we talk about the Black Dollar, the Black Business Showcase. We also know about the amount of money that's leaving our communities. And it's leaving our communities because we just working. We not. Yeah, we kind of got to, and I'm saying that because I've learned that myself. I have to take a step back and really just like not do the work of my business, but work on my business or review the results that my business has created and be able to make decisions. And so by doing this the right way, not only it will prevent us from having these issues with our IRS, but it also give us key insights into our business and what we need to change and what's working well. Because sometimes we don't take that specific time and to figure that out, and that's very, very important.
Yeah, man. Like you said at the beginning of the show. No, not that door. I'm talking about the screen. Sorry. Yeah, it's just about having your affairs in order in general. You know what I'm saying? Not just following the news cycle. That's the point that you made at the beginning of the show. But also something that you touched on a while ago, you was kind of speaking to me a little bit. You're talking about having all of these different, what do you call them? Cashapp, Venmo, PayPal, all the different, what do you call those things?
We call them like merchant systems.
Yeah,
merchant accounts.
Yeah,
things.
And so, me as a private contractor, I'm a barber. I want to make sure that I'm able to accept all forms of payment. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to turn nobody away. I don't want you to have to go to the store, go to the ATM or nothing. What you got, I take it. You know what I'm saying? But I have all of them connected to one account. So is that still going to be messy at the end of the year for me, being that it's coming through all those different avenues?
It It does create that margin of error. The easiest way to reduce that is do not leave a cash balance in these accounts. Um, because let's say you using PayPal, right? You looking at your PayPal, you didn't cut a few heads, everybody didn't paid you on PayPal, right? But nothing has hit the bank account. And then you might incur an expense of your own. You might need some new clippers, or something, and you use your PayPal card, not your debit card. So now that happens in that PayPal instance and not your bank account. So then 2 weeks later, you transfer your balance to your bank account. And we just looking at the bank account, but pretty much all that money didn't hit there. And then usually if we dealing with PayPal, depending on the speed that you choose for it to hit your bank account, you know what I mean? That's a different fee. If you wait 2 or 3 days, it's free. If you need that money right then and there, they're gonna take something from it.
Right.
So yes, it's there. Yes, it can be recorded, but when we're looking at the bank, we're not gonna see that fee that PayPal charged you. If you had $100 in there, we're just gonna receive $98.07 hypothetically, and that's an expense to your business. So it's just these may not seem like large differences, but
hold on. Say that part again. Say that just that last part right there about that fee when they take the fee.
Yeah, so like say you got $100 in your PayPal account, you didn't receive $100 payments and services. You do the instant transfer to your bank account. You're not gonna receive $100, and the same with Cashapp. You're gonna receive $98 and some change, hypothetically. Right. So if that happens 300 times throughout the year, we looking at what extra $300, $400 of expenses that your business has incurred that
I can't show.
You have to go an extra step to show it. So that's why I say it creates a margin of error. Like I'm not saying that no, it can't be done,
but it could be easily overlooked.
Then that can be overlooked. Just like, yes, we can use cash in our businesses, but there's no third party support or very little. Because if you go to your ATM withdrawal and make an ATM withdrawal and you go pay 6 different vendors, yes, it's for your business, but I need 6 different receipts. That's going to equal the amount of your ATM withdrawal. You pulled out $600. I'm expecting 6 $100 receipts from your vendors to support that withdrawal. So that's what I'm talking about. So you have those different things to where you can do it, but it can be a little bit more tedious to support that data, to support that information. Like I said, if you swipe it in the bank and all in your bank account, the bank ain't gonna say, but very rarely does the bank lie about the money that's leaving the bank. The bank does make mistakes, but for the most part, they trying to keep that money. They want to know where it's at. So that's the easy way to kind of help. But I would say this too, and I would kind of push back a bit on the statement that you made in regards to like us being business owners and having to accept everything. That's not always the case, especially nowadays. We can choose our customers and we can choose what particular services or how we choose to get paid. You know what I mean? I can't go to McDonald's and pay with Cash App. You know what I mean? I can't go to I can't jump on Southwest. You know what I mean? I can use PayPal, but I can't use Venmo. You know what I mean? I can't use Cash App. I can't use Zelle and buy my Southwest plane ticket. So, you know what I mean? We adopt these thoughts like I got to be accessible to everybody, but sometimes we expose ourselves. And if our client is not able to, our customer is not able to meet us halfway, then this needs to be a mutually beneficial agreement. I'm pretty sure it can be tedious going between 4 different merchant accounts. When you go to the corner store, how many registers do they have?
Right.
They usually got one register. You know what I mean? And they're like, bro, get in line and you got to pay me through this register. I accept cash, card. I don't accept check. if you pay me by a debit card, that transaction needs to be more than $5 or kick rocks.
Or there's a fee attached to it, and
you know what I mean. And so we make those rules to where our customer has the choice to continue to participate. But we also have to be kind of cognizant of the amount of work that it creates for us. And yes, we want to be accessible, and so that just kind of gotta make us think like, okay, what service is going to allow us to still be accessible. So for instance, for me in our business, I've had clients like, bro, can I pay you Cash App? No, I love you. You know what I mean? But you can't pay me Cash App. Cash App gonna charge me. I use QuickBooks. Like, we send out QuickBooks invoices. When our clients get a QuickBooks invoice, they have the opportunity to make certain choices. You know what I mean? You can mail us a check. You can pay with your card, which is MasterCard, Visa. You know what I mean? Those are choices. But this is something that we chose as a business that makes it easy for us and allows our customer to make a choice, that works for us. And if it's certain choices that is a little bit more tedious for us, then we can't do it, because ultimately we have to, it's like the on the flights, you know what I mean? They tell you to put on your mask first, you know what I mean, before you get by somebody else.
That's
So it's really thinking about like what really works for you. And it's the same way about finding that tool. There might be a barber app that all you do is like, they accept all of those different things. You get paid from one source. Or maybe that might be, something that we create,
right,
they haven't, to where that, because that's all it is just all of these are just free ways and infrastructures of transmitting data, and that's all that's really happening, is transmitting data and value.
Just numbers, just
kind
digits.
Of come down to.
Man, yeah, that was real good right there, man. And Crowd 808 is absolutely right. Y'all getting a whole masterclass right here. You know what I mean? Hopefully y'all taking notes.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And I remember last time that we talked, I told you I was gonna have the class coming, and it's done. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
Like what they say. You know what I mean? The album done, bro.
Yes,
But the class is complete.
So talk about it.
Yeah, so we did this tax master class, and so a lot of people talk about these elaborate tax strategies. Hey, can I pay my kids? Can I do the President 45? Like, why he only paying $700 in taxes and I got to pay a couple thousand? These type of situations.
The Donald Trump tax strategy.
Yeah, that Trump tax plan. You know what I mean? I want that. You know what I mean? And but we can't have that if you don't understand the very basics of your tax return. What goes on the basic Form 1040. Some people, I say Form 1040, and people are like, what is that? That's the individual tax return. Every year you're filing a Form 1040. It's 2 pages. My tax return is 2 pages. Yeah, it's 2 pages. You know what I mean? I got a stack. Why did I get a stack? Because you had some other sketch. You know what I mean? Just all of those things. But we can't capitalize on, or it makes it very difficult and less likely to capitalize on the exotic, more advanced tax strategies if we don't understand the basic ones that we have to do all our lives. Usually the majority of us start having to file tax returns after we're 18. If we're expecting to live until we like 70, maybe a lot of us are more. And so we're doing this every year. Why don't we understand this better? And now we do it. It's kind of like we look on the back end and we have this bill where there are numerous things that we can do that's going to affect this bill in the back end. And so that's what we're talking about. And so I break down every section on the tax return. We put it in bite-sized chunks. It's like about 20 different videos, 2-minute videos, breaking it out. We made some families. We made a family. We got a case study. We filed this family's tax return like 4 or 5 different ways. Talk about their business income, their business loss, how it's going to affect the family. He got married, all of that. So we became a storyteller. I'm a big Nas fan, so I like storytelling. So I took my stab at it. It ain't too much rhyming going on, but yeah. So that's what it's about, and just giving people information. So if they file their own taxes, they can be a little bit better informed. And at the same time, if they when they're working with their tax preparer, I see it when I work with clients often. It's like sometimes they just kind of glaze over, like, yeah, Cavanaugh, where I sign. You know what I mean?
Right.
But this return is a year's worth of your financial information that honestly you're going to be using this tax return, especially if you're a business owner, for the next 4 or 5 years to be able to leverage capital, make different type of business moves. So we need to learn what that look like. You know what I
Them
mean?
12 months be coming fast, boy. It be coming right
Yeah,
back
yeah,
around. Be coming
yeah.
right
And
back
so,
around. You
yeah,
putting
that
stuff
Donald
off.
Trump, but that Donald Trump tax plan that's not that plan is not, oh, I'm meeting with Kavanaugh, I'm meeting with my tax preparer in February and I'm meeting with him once a year. Nah, you meeting throughout the year. You understanding these tax laws, you looking for new loopholes. It's a whole thing. I don't know if you paid attention to it. This boy trying to get out. He buried his wife on the
Yep.
golf property to be able to make it into a cemetery company.
Yep.
Because cemetery
Saw
company,
that.
but you got that take time to learn that strategy to be
Right.
able to employ that strategy. You know what
So
I
like
mean?
you
And a
said,
lot of times,
you sitting down with the tax people all throughout the year saying, well, look, I got this bread over here. This is the expense I want to make right here.
Mhm.
What's the best way for me to cut my tax losses on this situation, on this
yeah,
transaction?
yeah, and it's not even about the year; it's about the next few years. Because, like for me, as a business owner, and I know if I know I want to purchase another home, you know what I mean. I know that they're gonna be looking at my tax returns. So then, I'm advising clients now. You can reach out to your mortgage if you know you're gonna buy a house in 2-3 years. You can reach out to your mortgage officer now, get your credit right, figure out with the amount of credit with the credit level that you have, and the amount and figure out the amount of house that you want to buy. And then what that mortgage advisor will give us as a tax preparer, he'll let us know the amount of money that we need to report on your behalf. Now, the funny thing about the IRS is they gonna make sure that you do not under report your income, but they don't care if you over report your income. So a lot of times we're trying to cut down our taxable income so we don't have a tax bill. But if you're telling me if I can have a tax bill for 1 year to be able to get into a $300,000 home, you know what I mean? Things of that nature, but that's when we talking about tax strategy, because it might be beneficial to recognize a gain. If you want that business loan, you couldn't get a PPP loan if you didn't have a business profit. If you wrote off it, we had clients who had businesses for years, but all they wanted to do was write off their tax balances. I don't want to owe anything. Well, when that came around, they were in compliance, but we couldn't get them no money because on paper they said they didn't make it. So sometimes it is beneficial to say you make money,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a paper game, and we can play that just like they can. But that's not a year long. That's not a 12-month thing. These are year long strategies, lifelong strategies. That they are employing year after year. The year is like, man, I love football. You know what I mean? So that year, that's like a drive. You know what I mean? You got a new kickoff. 1 year I'm trying to get to the end zone. Then you go back, you do it again. I'm trying to get to the end zone again. Whatever your destination is, and that's how I kind of look at it. And so, but every time you're trying to get to the end zone, you still have an overall strategy. You know what I mean? So every year, should be supporting your 3-year plan, your 5-year plan, and that's kind of figuring out. And it's messed up, but I think it's our generation and maybe the generation a little bit ahead of us. Have we really had an opportunity to really think past, like, yeah, I can actually survive and live into old age. Sometimes
Right.
there's still, a risk that we don't, but you know how it goes. It seems kind of likely if we do certain things, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so that level of planning, is not always included in our family planning. It's like about, estate planning, retirement planning, tax planning. I didn't know of tax planning until I became, a financial professional. I went to school for these things. What was talked about in our homes as in regards to finances is, don't trust the bank. Put it in the mattress. Put it in your piggy bank. You know what I mean? Pay your bills. pay rent, you know what I mean? Things of that nature. It's not like if I, even some of the things that I know now, I wish I knew 10, 15 years ago, and then
Yeah.
become from certain things, even as a professional, certain aspects of the financial industry that I might not be an area of my expertise, like the stocks, the options, the currency trading, which is something that I had to learn in these last few years. And this type of information is not always available at such a young age in our communities, not to mention the technology that enables us to tap into those things,
At least for us, it wasn't.
yeah.
For
So
the youth now, they don't really got that excuse.
yeah, it's like I think it's our generation and the one coming after us is like we have the least amount of barriers and to make these type of financial um excelling to excel financially in these ways. But we also, one of the main barriers is just knowing that certain opportunities exist, and I'm still learning about certain ones myself.
Facts.
So it's a growing thing. It's a lifelong thing. And if the, I kind of think of it as a long um for a while I'm a warrior, and I see you got the new project with the shield, the sword and the shield, you know what I
Yes,
mean?
sir.
My sword is my pen, you know what I mean? And that's how I've chosen to fight. And it's a in these economics and these finances are something that affect our everyday lives, and I'm just trying to do my part to be able to help folks out.
Love it, man. But let me ask you this straight up, then. You know what I'm saying? For my people out there, we still talking PPP. Y'all getting a whole masterclass on finances and taxes and all that. But just on the PPP situation, for the people who got caught up, in the moment, that didn't have a legitimate business in place to begin with, that took money from the IRS or from whoever was giving out the PPP loans. Is there any hope for them? 'Cause I know you said ain't no going
Yeah,
back
I
and
would
fix
say
this up.
if you filed and you use your own personal social security number and you got it, you need to file some type of business return. And the IRS you can file a tax return late. Um, you can file for a loss in a business for a couple of years before they're asking anything. So I would definitely recommend that you file some type of tax return and do some type of reporting of what you did with this money if you did not have a legitimate business. Honestly, you don't have to have a LLC, an EIN number, all of these things. You don't necessarily need all of those things to have a business. It can be reported as a sole proprietorship, and then we just make it as reasonable as possible. If you got caught up in that. If not, and you do have a legitimate business, it's about just learning more about
Organizing.
that basic bookkeeping, that basic record keeping for your business, and finding a system that really works for you. I know I mentioned a few softwares or things that I've been exposed to, but it really don't matter until it makes sense for you, and you having an end goal. And if your end goal is to make sure that you going to have these numbers in order, then if it's Google Drive, if it's Microsoft Excel, if it's Word, if it, I've had some clients like, man, can you make me a template so I can write out? Because she hated computers. You know what I mean? She was like, can I create, like, yes, but it's just about having a system, sticking to it, committing to it, and then not only using it for these people, but also using it for your own benefit, because it's not going to be, it's going to be a chore until you value it, you know? Um, so until you really value what you're getting from it, it's going to be just a thing that you're trying to put together to send off to these people.
Yes, indeed, man. Well, I learned a whole lot here tonight. You know what I'm saying?
Give thanks.
Definitely appreciate you coming through, sharing, man.
Yeah, man.
I don't have any questions that I could think of
Yeah.
right now, but is there anything that you would like to add that maybe I didn't think to ask you concerning
Um,
loans?
yeah. My thing is always be proactive. and learn as much as you can. Information is valuable. So and make sure that you not only just getting information, but you have a sound plan to execute on the information. You have a plan to execute on this information even before you receive it. You know what I mean? Like if you're gonna take the class, if you're gonna get the training, whatever it is that you're gonna get, whatever you're gonna do for you or yourself, you know, that is valuable. But also have that in mind. And I'm preaching to myself because there's a lot of things I do, and I'm like, oh, when I'm gonna actually have time to do the thing, you know. So close that off, educate yourself on running businesses. You know, look to businesses like big businesses in your industry, how they came along, businesses that they've done, and just educate yourself on record keeping for your business, and just kind of take it from there. And if you know any steps along the way, I'm here to help. Oh, and be proactive. Yeah. Don't wait. Be proactive. Learn these things before somebody is coming to ask you for that.
All of that was for me. All of that was directly for me right there.
Well, you're
welcome. Make sure you guys are following my brother at Nweze Solutions on Instagram, or you can visit the website www.nwezesolutions.com. Anywhere else you want people to follow you at?
Nah, man, that'll get you where you need to be. The website and IG, you know what I mean? That's probably the most where we're active at. Yeah. So
how about the masterclass? The link in the bio for the masterclass?
Man, follow us there. It's not posted yet. And honestly, I'm gonna announce the actual release date real soon. So follow us there, and you'll sign up for the newsletter on the website. You will be updated.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So again, man, thank you for coming through.
No problem.
Thank you, family, for tuning in. If you're watching this on the replay, you know what I'm saying, leave your comments in the comment section. You know what I mean? Let us know, you know, if you found some value in this here. Share it with your friends and family who you know could use this type of information. And yeah, man, stay tuned in with the Godcast, man. We do this every week. Wednesdays and Thursday evenings, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific Time. We bring different guests on, like my brother, just to share some wisdom and information dealing with different industries. And on Sundays, me and my sister nyctegur, we do our regular broadcast where we talk current events and important topics pertaining to Black society. And that's at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 1 p.m. Pacific Time on Sundays. So yeah, with that being said, man, I'll see you guys on Sunday. Let me see. Yeah. Okay. Got that pulled up right there. All right, family. So like I always tell y'all, man, remember, we are not the master teachers, but we are the master students and signal boosters for the voices of the new Black media. Peace and Black love.
Do for self or suffer the consequences. The wisdom of Elijah's inside of the conscientious. So I move.